I saw this, that Aaron Rodgers said yesterday that he has some guilt, some personal guilt over the Zach Wilson benching. Zach's a great kid, said Aaron. He's a great kid. A lot of these situations, certain guys are the scapegoat. And what he's basically saying, it's not on Zach Wilson. Now, I don't think Zach is a very effective quarterback, although I do think he would probably be better if he had a better offensive coordinator. Oh, wait, they hired Aaron's friend, Nathaniel Hackett. Desperate businesses do desperate things. When you get older, you see it time and time again. The Jets basically said, Aaron, we whiffed on a left tackle, we whiffed on a quarterback. What do you want to get here? So they hired an offensive coordinator who bombed in Denver as a head coach and did not have much of a market. They paid for Randall Cobb, no market. Overpaid for Allen Lazard, there was no real market. And they signed an unnecessary star running back, Dalvin Cook. That's 0 for 4. Nathaniel Hackett hiring, he had no market. Allen Lazard, Randall Cobb, Dalvin Cook, all to appease Aaron. Now, I do think Aaron's bright, not as bright as he thinks, and he's always had this sense that he's his coaching acumen and his personnel acumen are much greater than they are. Remember, he pouted and wouldn't get along with Mike McCarthy. Can I give you some stats on Mike McCarthy, who may not be my favorite coach, but Mike McCarthy before Aaron Rodgers was 21-11. Mike McCarthy after Aaron Rodgers in Dallas is 37-23. That's a 63% win percentage for the guy who can't coach. That's higher than Pete Carroll and Chuck Noll and Tom Landry and Sean Payton and Bill Parcells and Joe Gibbs. Yes, Mike McCarthy has a better win percentage than virtually everybody not named, like Andy Reid, Belichick, and Shula. Again, he's not my favorite coach, but he can coach. Dak is having his best year ever. Favre's last year with McCarthy was excellent, and Aaron Rodgers had some of his best years with McCarthy. But Aaron didn't want to play for him, bad-mouthed him to multiple people, 3 of them my sources. Aaron has convinced himself he is a coaching and personnel guru. He's also convinced himself he's a geopoliticist, a shaman, and an epidemiologist. He's none of them. He throws a pretty football. Really, really pretty football. He's a great quarterback in his prime, although he's not now one of the greatest quarterbacks. He's not. But again, you can feel guilt over Zach Wilson. But Zach, that salary cap sort of clogged up with Allen Lazard and a spot taken by Randall Cobb. And there were better offensive coordinators on the market. And as I said more than once, Dalvin Cook was unnecessary. You had Breece Hall, capable backups. Spend that money on a center or a right tackle. You can feel all the guilt you want. But Aaron flexed. He didn't have a lot of power in Green Bay. He now has it in New York, and he flexed. And he got things, though he will deny he had anything to do with Lazard. Okie dokie. But Zach's not a star, not very efficient, but Aaron certainly hasn't made it easier. Nick Wright and I talked about this yesterday.
The Jets' offseason, being the Aaron Rodgers friends and family plan, was an unmitigated disaster. That's undeniable. Cobb can't get on the field. Allen Lazard is at best at this point a number 3 receiver, and that might be pushing it. Nat Hackett has never called a great offense in the NFL. People are like, oh, he was the OC in Green Bay. Yes, but LaFleur was calling the offense. Like, there are so many things that the Jets did seemingly to placate Aaron that seemingly just had no actual, they weren't tethered to winning football at all.
Yeah, again, nobody's denying that Aaron's a great quarterback, but he fashions himself as an expert in coaching and personnel and lots of other things, and so do many podcasters and people around this country. I'm fine with it. But you can feel all the guilt you want about Zach Wilson. He's got some baggage on this team that's not his fault. He didn't whiff on a left tackle. He didn't hire Hackett, Alan Lazard, Randall Cobb, Dalvin Cook. Some of this is just on the culture of the Jets. Desperate businesses do desperate things. I wouldn't feel guilt. Zach was never going to be a star in this league. But when you flex and you have the occasional power as an employee, be careful how you use it. You can puncture your momentum, Zach Wilson's momentum, and the franchise's momentum. We are in Week 12 of the NFL. Officially, 2/3 of the season are complete. Got 1/3 to go. So here's who I think is now in my Super Bowl bubble. The teams in the bubble can win. The teams on the outside are missing something. So the teams I have in the bubble are Kansas City, Baltimore, and Jacksonville from the AFC, San Francisco, Philly, and Detroit, that offensive line, that run game, in the NFC. I think Buffalo is close but too erratic. Miami's close but is yet to beat a winning team. And the Cowboys have clobbered awful teams, can't beat the good ones, but they're close. Cincinnati would also be in this bubble, inside it, if Joe Burrow didn't get hurt. So let's start with that. That would be 10 of the 32 teams if Joe Burrow was healthy. A third of the league. So there's 130 Division I college football programs. About 6 are good enough to play for a national title. About 6. There's 30 NBA teams? 3, and maybe 2. Boston and Denver can win the championship. That's about it. So the fact that a third of the NFL, if Joe Burrow, singularly one player was healthy, I think a third of the league can win the Super Bowl. And I think you agree with me on all of that, with one exception, the Dallas Cowboys. You think they should be inside that bubble. And I will say, if you look at data, it would lead you to believe I'm wrong and you would be right. Number 1 point differential in the NFL, Dallas. Number 2 scoring offense, Dallas. Number 5 scoring defense, Dallas. And Dak's having a career year. He really is. But they don't have a single win over a team over 500. Look at their wins. The Giants twice. The Jets. The Rams, Matt Stafford got hurt. Panthers, Patriots, and arguably the worst coach team in the league, the Chargers. Everybody, including Jordan Love, looks great against the Chargers. So I have said before, and I'll say it again, I need those last 6 games of the year where it's a bully against a bully. Washington, say what you want. It's a division rival. This is 7 games. I'd probably go 6. Seattle, Philly, Buffalo, Miami, Detroit, and at Washington. That's the games I got to see. Bully against the bully can get physical. So, because I think when those games are played, coaching, situational football, and details matter. And there are 2 things that if you look at that would deeply concern me if I'm a Cowboy fan, that don't matter in a blowout, don't matter when it's a bully over a weaker roster. The Cowboys are not good in the red zone, offense or defense. They're not good in the red zone, and they're the second most penalized team in the league. So there's a lot of data that would indicate Dallas is a Super Bowl team, but they're not going to get to play the Panthers or the Rams or the Giants or the Jets. They're not playing any of those teams in January. They're going to play the Eagles and the Lions and the Niners. Yes, and when you play those teams, details and situational football are crucial. It's a bully on a bully, right? And Dallas is a heavily penalized team and not very good in the red zone. It's why I said I thought Derrick Henry made a lot of sense for Dallas at the trade deadline. Derrick Henry, they'd be a better red zone offense because Tony Pollard's a 2. He's not a power back. And you can only get so clever and so tricky in the red zone. If you're at the 8-yard line, 70% of your playbook doesn't work, right? Like there's just certain things you need, like a good old line, a power running back. So Detroit and Philadelphia and the Niners, to me, Detroit, Philadelphia, and the Niners are much better teams in those tight spaces, right? Detroit's run game and O-line, Philadelphia, Jalen Hurts, their offensive line, San Francisco, Christian McCaffrey, Kyle Shanahan's coaching, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle. So I think Dallas is one of those 4 teams in the NFC, but it worries me because they're more penalized than the Eagles and the Lions and the Niners, and they're worse offensively in the red zone on average than those teams. So that's what it comes down to. Is Dallas a bit of a bully? Mike Tyson was great in 98% of his fights, but when he met an equal, when he met an Evander Holyfield, he met a Lennox Lewis, and then you could tell Mike wasn't in good enough shape. He didn't have a good enough corner. Then all the details matter. And that's not all on McCarthy, by the way. It's not. It's just that's what worries me about Dallas. My Super Bowl bubble, once again, it's big. There are a lot of teams now that have emerged, but I have Buffalo, Miami, and Dallas just on the outside. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.